I am here with Zachary Joseph at Zack's house in Royal Oak, Michigan.
How's it going?
And Zach, I have a few questions for you.
Sounds good.
As part of the Great Thanksgiving Listen, this is a section of questions that have to do with growing up.
Sounds good.
So what I'm wondering is, when and where were you born?
I was born in May of 1999 in Evanston, Illinois. But I lived in Chicago for a bit.
And so Evanston is a suburb of Chicago.
Yeah, just
right?
really right connected to the north side. Pretty close to it.
And so where did you grow up?
In a neighborhood in north side of Chicago called Andersonville.
Until you were how old?
Until I was 4 years old, and it was 2003, and then we moved to you guys. Your mom moved back to Royal Oak, and so that's where we live now.
What was it like living in Chicago? What do you remember?
Well, there was a lot of noise, and I remember eating a lot of Chicago-style hot dogs. I remember playing a lot outside because I was only like a little kid, and I remember, I remember like what I remember most is like Nick's birthday, right before we left, and spending Christmas, because I remember like around that time like Bob and Mark came over, and I know like we talked to Pa on the phone Christmas Day, and then I remember you told me, Mom was like, all right guys, so we have a special Christmas present for you guys, and Nick obviously doesn't understand yet, but we're gonna be moving in the next year, and so I remember you telling me that, and then that was kind of a blur. I don't even remember the car ride to Detroit, but I just remember then I remember going to Lincoln, and a few memories from that. But
What was Lincoln?
Lincoln was like an early childhood, preschool, pre-kindergarten place, and basically I was turning 5, and I was kind of a high maintenance kid, so I remember getting into a lot of issues with kids, and then I met a few kids who I was playing soccer with. We all went to the same school, and I know I started playing soccer when I was 4, turning 5. And you were my coach, and I remember I had a game like the same day as a certain event, and the Candy Band were playing, and that was like a good friend of ours, Paula, who is my former guitar teacher. I remember a lot of good memories from childhood.
What were your parents like?
Rick and Mary Beth, they're great parents. Mom definitely spoiled us more than you did, but you obviously would put in the effort for important things like trips and making sure we stayed on task with discipline. And you're always kind of like the nicer parent when Mom would get mad, and then Mom would kind of be the nicer parent when you would get mad. And when I was a kid, you didn't get as mad at me as much as you did when I was older, but I definitely had a good childhood growing up. I was definitely a well-nutritioned kid. I definitely fed a lot and normal amounts of food, and definitely wasn't starved, and I definitely had a lot of clothes and a good place to sleep, and I was definitely busy at work as a little kid. I had enough toys and stuff to do growing up, but yeah.
So how many siblings do you
I
have?
just have one brother. His name is Nick Joseph.
And what was Nick like growing up?
Well, Nick was a great kid, and he was kind of quiet growing up. And as I think about it now, I just was really mean to him, and that really was unnecessary. I could have done a lot better job as a big brother, because I feel our relationship's good now. We're really close, but growing up, I used to be mean to him for no reason, and we would have days where we would get along and just fool around and play, but I would be pretty mean to him certain times during the course of our childhood. I really regret that. I still remember this one time where Mom went on one of her weekend getaways to get away from the kids, and she came home, and I was hiding behind a wall of the house, and Nick was running to give Mom a hug, and I tripped him and he fell on his face. And that's still like one of the childhood moments that haunts me because he was crying and mom got mad at me, and I still like feel really bad about that. I instantly felt bad, and I definitely like. I'm glad we have a good relationship now and we're close and we can like rely on each other for certain things.
How would you describe a perfect day when you were young?
Probably waking up to mom singing to me, a good nice breakfast, then going on some type of trip to the park or maybe run some errands with mom and or you and playing out in the backyard and playing in my room with my toy animals or Playmobil or Legos. And then maybe watching a little bit of TV from some DVDs from the library because we didn't have cable growing up. And then probably like eating some dinner as a family, talking about our days and eating a lot of food and going to bed at probably like 9 o'clock, you know.
What is your best memory from childhood?
That's a hard one. I have a lot of good ones, but probably one I could say is probably pretty meaningful. Probably like one of my first like memories that I really remember a lot of is our first big road trip, which like our first real trip, you know, out of state, and that was for President Obama's first inaugural inauguration to the presidenthood, and that was 2009, and we drove to Cleveland for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Then we went to Gettysburg and Pittsburgh, saw some battlefields, went to that what's that place called in Pittsburgh for the sandwiches, the fries on the corned beef, whatever. It's like the Brothers. Anyway, that's a really good restaurant, and I miss it. And then we ended up going to D.C. and staying with Uncle Tom, and that was the first time we stayed with him, you know, as a kid, because I was in 5th grade or 4th grade, and I was like 9 or 10 or maybe 9, 10 or 11, around there. And that was a great trip because me and Nick got along well, and we ate a lot of good food, and I learned a lot about, you know, like United States history. I'm not going to say American because don't worry about that. You know, we learned about like how the certain slave trade stuff and like we went to this one restaurant called the Dobbin House, which is a former kind of northern refuge for slaves, and it was like an inn, and in the inn they had a secret room where runaway slaves, as on their way through the north as they're progressing to freedom, they would stop in the inn during the night, and they would stay in the secret room up through a staircase. There's a secret room on the side that's kind of hidden, and they would sleep there for the night, and they would be given food and like, you know, a place to sleep while they're like hiding from the slave catchers. And I thought that was probably one of the things I remember the most because it was a little. That's when I first, like, you know, you and Mom gave us that talk about like the slaves and how African Americans have been treated, you know, throughout the years in the United States, and definitely like started getting me thinking as, you know, a 9 and 10-year-old, you know, going to school in predominantly white area, you know, in Oxford. So pretty interesting. Great trip.
How old are you now?
19.
And what are your plans for the future?
Well, right now I am in community college, which is not such a bad choice for a student, you know. Even if your parents have money and can pay for Harvard or UCLA or Michigan or Michigan State, you know, a good school. And community college is a way where when you're not sure what you want to do and you can think, hey, I don't want to waste my parents' money doing something, I don't really think like I'm going to put my full focus on. You go to community college, you spend $1,000 a semester. That's really cheap. And you basically, you know, work on good classes and you have good teachers. And then what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to spend probably a couple more semesters here. So I'm at my second year of school. And I want to transfer to Grand Valley State and study recreational therapy, which is a type of therapy that involves in rehab. Kind of like physical therapy, but I don't have to go to like med school. And I want to work in cancer rehab and be able to help youth and adolescent cancer patients, maybe some young adults, helping them keep their positive attitude in life and helping them see that there is a healthy way to treat cancer besides chemotherapy and radiation. Because as a cancer survivor myself, I went through a lot of things most 16-year-olds don't, and I want to show that what I went through, even if it wasn't as grave as certain cancer treatments, I still went through chemo, and I still went through the hell that patients going through chemotherapy and cancer treatment. And I want to show people that it's okay to feel scared, and to know that like you have people that can be in your life that are your motivation to help you stay healthy, and you have your cheerleaders. People are gonna always be there for you at any time. You know who your real friends are once something life threatening happens to you. And therapists are a big part of certain cancer patients' life. Like my girlfriend, she lost complete mobility, which means she wasn't able to move at all for a certain period of her life, and certain therapists can help you work on walking again and gain your mentality. Hey, I can get up and I can put on my clothes for the day and I can continue with my life, and that's why I want to pursue the path I'm pursuing right now.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you for your time and for answering these questions, and best of luck to you.
Yeah. Thank you, BCS 5th and 6th graders. I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.